officially Happy New Year because this year it has been crazy, right? And so, welcome back to Beyond You Podcast. Come in, get comfortable. If this is your first time here, I'm Samantha. And I'm really glad you found your way to this conversation today because before we settle in, I want to ask you something. And I promise this isn't me being pushy, it's just real talk. So I know 94% of you that have been here listening here and maybe even coming back week after week that have not pushed the subscribe button yet. And I get it. Truly, maybe you're not sure if this is your thing, or maybe you just haven't gotten around to it. But if these have resonated with you or helped you in some capacity, I want to be able to help more women. So if you could please just subscribe and to share, and it really helps us out over here on the podcast. Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So I know this has been really difficult with the new year and doing different New Year's resolutions. And I want for you to be able to ask yourself this question that has been truly not on top of people's mind. I know we've talked about here, but we're going to get started. So deep breath. Let's talk about something that's been sitting heavy on my heart as we come to the end of this year, right? Because this time of year, there's so much noise, right? Like everyone's doing their year in review posts, their look how far we have come reels or vision boards for next year. And if you had just a hard year, and if this was the year you survived more than you just thrived this year, and if you spent these months just trying to hold yourself together while you healed, all of that can feel overwhelming. Maybe even a little bit shameful because maybe your Instagram doesn't look like everyone else's, right? And I've heard a lot about that in my sessions. Maybe you didn't get the promotion or meet someone new or travel somewhere amazing. Maybe to the outside world, it looks like not much changed at all. But can I tell you something? What if the most important measure of this year has nothing to do with what you accomplished or how it looks to anyone else? Today, I want us to sit with one question together, just one. But I promise you, it's the question that actually matters, the one that shows you the truth of how far you really have come. And the question is this: did I choose myself this year? And I know I get it. Like that sounds simple, but stay with me, okay? Because the answer to that question, it changes everything. So I don't think we realize on how we have not shown up for ourselves. And I want to be able to tap into first on just even why this question matters more than just your achievements. Okay, because so let me tell you why this question is different. Most end of the year reflections focus on external accomplishments, right? What did you do? Where did you go? What did you gain? And listen, those things are great. I'm not saying achievements do not matter, but for women like us, women who are healing from trauma, women who are learning to set boundaries, women who have spent years sacrificing themselves for everyone else, the real measure of growth isn't what we accomplished, it's who we became in the process. And more specifically, did we choose ourselves? Because here's what I've learned both in my own life and working with hundreds of women, you can have an incredible year by society standards and still be abandoning yourself every single day. You can get the promotion, meet someone new, check all the boxes, and still be people pleasing, over functioning, and losing yourself in the process. Or you can have what looks like a rough year on paper, right? Maybe you ended a relationship, maybe you lost a job, maybe you didn't hit any of your goals and still have had the most transformative year of your life because you finally started choosing yourself. So what does choosing yourself actually mean? Okay, so we'll give some bullet points here. So feel free to take your notes out to be able to write this stuff down. So it means you set a boundary even though it disappointed someone, or you said no when you wanted to say yes just to keep the peace. You walked away from something that wasn't serving you, even though it was familiar. You stopped explaining yourself to people who weren't trying to understand you. You chose rest over productivity when your body begged for it. You asked for what you needed instead of waiting for someone to notice. Maybe you stayed home when everyone expected you to show up, or you ended a friendship that was draining you. You stopped making yourself small to make others comfortable. You prioritize your healing over just everyone else's comfort. Those things, those don't make it onto anyone's highlight reel. They don't. They'll get celebrated at year to end parties. They don't show up in Instagram posts, but they're the real work. They're the choices that change your life. So let's do mind shift number one, right? The year you finally choose yourself might look like the year you did less, but it's actually the year you became more of who you really are. So when you're looking back at this year, I don't want you to just think about what you did. I want you to ask, how many times did I choose myself when it would have been easier to choose everyone else? That's the measurement that matters in this practice. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different ways you might have chosen yourself and not even realize it. So now choosing yourself looks different for everyone. And I want to break it down what this might have looked like for you this year, because sometimes we don't recognize our own growth. Sometimes we're so focused on what we didn't do, which I talk to a lot of you guys, that's what we tend to do. You focus on what we didn't do, and we miss what we did. So let me walk you through some examples. And as I do this, I want you to really pay attention to which one resonates. Drop me a comment later and tell me which one you did this year, because acknowledging it actually matters. And I want to be able to hear what you'd have done or what you did for yourself. So you chose yourself if you left. Maybe you left a relationship that wasn't serving you. Maybe you left a job that was draining you. Maybe you left a friendship that had become one-sided. Maybe you left a city or church, a family dynamic, especially when everyone around you is asking, are you sure? Maybe you should give it another thought, or oh, one more chance. What if you regret it, but you knew and you left anyway? That's choosing yourself. That's you saying, my peace matters more than just maintaining on what's familiar for everybody else. You chose yourself if you set boundaries. Maybe you told your mom you can't talk on the phone every single day. Maybe you told your friend you're not available to be your therapist anymore. Maybe you told your partner what you will and won't tolerate. Maybe you stopped answering work emails after hours and people were uncomfortable. They pushed back. They called you selfish. They told you you've changed, but you held the boundary anyway. Now that is choosing yourself. That's you learning that disappointing others is sometimes necessary to stop disappointing yourself. You chose yourself. Also, if you stop performing, maybe you stop pretending you're okay when you're not. Maybe you stop showing up to every event to prove you're a good friend. Maybe you stopped forcing gratitude you don't feel. Maybe you stopped trying to be the cool girl who never has needs. You let people see you, really see you. Even in the messy, tired, still figuring it out parts. That's choosing yourself. That's authenticity over acceptance. Also, you choose yourself if you prioritize your healing. Maybe you finally started therapy. Maybe you invested in that journal, that book, that program that promised to help. Maybe you said no to opportunities because you knew you didn't have the emotional capacity. Maybe you took time off work to rest, not because you were physically sick, but because your soul was just tired. People might have thought you were being extra or too sensitive, but you knew what you needed. That is choosing yourself. That's recognizing your healing isn't selfish, it's necessary, it's essential. You also choose yourself. You asked for what you needed, and maybe for the first time in your life, you actually said, I need help, or I need space, or I need you to show up differently. No more hinting, no more hoping people would just figure it out. You use your voice. And maybe they didn't respond the way you hoped. Maybe they couldn't meet you there, but you asked anyway. That's choosing yourself. That's believing your needs matter enough to be spoken. You chose yourself if you stayed. And sometimes choosing yourself means staying in therapy even though it feels uncomfortable, staying committed to your feelings, into your healing even when you want to quit, staying single even though everyone's asking when you're going to date again, staying with yourself even when loneliness feels unbearable. That's choosing yourself too. That's not giving up on your own journey just because it takes longer than you thought. But here's what I want you to hear and to know. You did any of these things this year, even once you chose yourself, and that matters and that counts, and know that's growth. So, the mindset number two, choosing yourself doesn't always look like big dramatic changes. Sometimes it's 100 small, brave choices that no one else notices but you. So, what to do just with your answer, right? Like, all right, so ask your question. Did I choose myself this year? Now what? What do you do with your answer? If your answer is yes, first celebrate that. Really, I know we're not used to celebrating ourselves, especially when it comes to internal growth that nobody else can see, but you need to acknowledge what you did. Here's how to honor that. First, I want you to name it specifically. Don't just say, I grew this year, get specific. I set a boundary with my mother. I left a relationship that was hurting me. I stopped overfunctioning at work. I chose rest when I was exhausted. Write these down in your, whether you have my I Miss Me journal, in your notes app, somewhere. Because on the hard days, when you feel like you're not making progress, you need proof that you are. Number two, I want you to notice what changed because of it. When you chose yourself, what shifted? How did you feel different? What's possible now that wasn't before? Maybe you slept better. Maybe you have more energy. Maybe you don't feel that constant dread. Maybe you can't breathe a little, maybe you can breathe a little easier. Those are the real results. Number three, thank yourself, right? So this might feel weird, but I want you to actually thank yourself for choosing you out loud or in writing. Thank you for setting that boundary, even though it was scary. Thank you for leaving, even though you didn't know what was next. Thank you for you staying when you wanted to quit. You did something hard. Acknowledge it. If your answer is no or not enough, first, there's no shame in that. Choosing yourself is hard, especially if you spent your whole life being taught that self sacrifice is what makes you valuable. But here's the good news here, you get to start now. You don't have to wait for January 1st. You don't need a fresh start or a vision board. You can choose yourself today, right? You don't have to wait until those stuff to get started. And here's what that actually looks like. Number one, I want you to get honest about where you're abandoning yourself. Where are you still people pleasing? Where are you still over functioning? Where are you still making yourself small? Where are you still saying yes when you mean no? You can't change what you won't acknowledge, so get real about it. Number two, I want you to pick one area to focus on. Don't try to overhaul your entire life, okay? Just pick one place where you're ready to start choosing yourself differently. Maybe it's setting a boundary with one person. Maybe it's saying no to one thing. Maybe it's asking for help with one task. Start there. Number three, I want you to get support. You don't have to figure this out alone. Talk to your therapist, join a support group, work through your I Miss Me journal. The Rediscover section has prompts specifically designed to help you figure out what you actually want and need and not what everyone else wants from you. And the Reclaiming You ebook that comes with it, it walks you through the complete framework, release, rediscover, reconnect. It shows you how to heal the trauma that makes choosing yourself feel impossible and how to rediscover who you are beneath all the people pleasing and how to rebuild in a way that actually honors you. You don't need to have it all figured out. Just know that. You just need to take one step toward yourself. And if your answer is sometimes, that's real, like that's honest. And that's actually where most of us are. Some days you choose yourself, some days you fall back into your old patterns, some days you hold the boundaries, and some days caving feels a lot easier. And that's not failure, okay? That's being human. What matters is the direction you're moving, and you choosing yourself more than you did last year, even just a little bit more, that's progress. So, mind shift number three, choosing yourself isn't an all or nothing thing. It's a practice. Some days you'll do it well, some days you won't, but they're both a part of the journey. So now the question for next year. So we've looked back at this year. Now let's just look forward, right? And here's where I'm going to do something different than most year and just end the year reflections. I'm not going to ask you to set goals or make resolutions or create a vision board, which you can. I still do those things, so I get it. I'm going to ask you one question. What would it look like to choose myself more consistently next year? Not perfectly, not all the time, just more consistently. What would have to change? What would you have to say no to? What would you have to say yes to? What relationships would need new boundaries? And what habits would need to shift? Get specific. Would it be I would stop answering work emails after 7 p.m.? Would it be I would see my therapist twice a month instead of once? I would end the friendship that's been draining me for years. I would stop going to family events that re traumatize me. I would ask for help instead of trying to do everything alone. I would date someone who's actually available instead of convincing myself I can fix unavailable men. Write these down. Not as resolutions, you'll beat yourself up about it if you don't keep them, right? But as intentions, as reminders of who you're becoming. And here's the most important part: give yourself permission to disappoint people in pursuit of this. Because if you're going to choose yourself more next year, some people are going to be upset about it. They're going to miss the version of you who was always available, always accommodating, always putting them first. Let them miss her. She's not coming back. The version of you that you're becoming, she knows her worth. She protects her peace. She doesn't apologize for having needs. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. That's who we're building towards. So, know as this year comes to an end, I want you to remember something. Your year doesn't have to look impressive to be transformative, okay? You don't need a highlight reel. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to know that you choose yourself, even if it was just messy, even if it was imperfect, even if nobody else noticed. Because this year, you started to choose yourself is the year everything changes. It might not look like it from the outside. Your life might look exactly the same, but internally, you're different. You're stronger, you're clearer, you're more you. And that's the only measurement that matters. So here's what I need from you: drop a comment and tell me, how did you choose yourself this year? What was one brave thing you did that nobody else might understand? Because your story matters and someone else needs to hear it. Share this episode. Send it to the friend you had a rough year but actually had a transformative one. Tag me at IamSamantha.a on Instagram, and let's celebrate the growth that doesn't make it onto Instagram, right? And if you haven't subscribed, this is your reminder. Hit that button so you don't miss an episode as we head into the new year. Join my email list for weekly tools, real talk about choosing yourself. Link is in the show notes. And if you're ready to make next year the year you choose yourself more consistently, of course, we have the I Miss Me Journal Reclaiming You ebook on your complete system, the roadmap, and daily tools to help you stay grounded in who you're becoming. Daily reminders that you're doing better than you think. So you can find me on Instagram at IamSamantha.a, on TikTok at Moving Beyond You. And as we close out this year and step into the next one, I want you to carry this with you. You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that costs you your peace. You don't have to keep shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold all of you. And you don't have to wait for permission to choose yourself. The year ahead is yours, and you get to decide what that looks like. So choose you. Choose you fiercely. Choose you consistently. Choose you even when it's hard, because you're worth choosing. Happy New Year! And let's make it the year that we finally just come home to ourselves. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Until then, please be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think. I'll talk to you soon.